Welcome back to Serger Tip Clips. In a previous tip clip, I showed you how to use the double fold knit bias binder on the Bernina L890. Today, I'd like to show you how to use the single fold knit bias binder. And I think you're going to see how both of these will work well depending on the weight of the fabric that you're using. People might say, well, why would I want to use a single fold binder instead of the double fold traditional look, say on a t-shirt or any kind of a knit neckline that you typically see on ready to wear? Well, if you have a fabric that's pretty beefy and thick, say for the garment body itself, you may not want quite as much bulk if you use that same fabric for a double fold binder. It might really add a lot of thickness around that neckline. But that's when you could go to a single fold. And conversely, if you were doing something that was a lighter weight garment, the body of the garment, and you wanted a contrasting fabric that happened to be beefier or chunkier, again, the single fold might work better than the double fold for that and reduce the bulk around the neckline or whatever you're finishing off with it. And I'm going to show you a sort of a two-part tip clip. I also have another fun finish for you that's not the traditional way to do it, but I think it's really kind of a nifty finish for garments. You could even use this for other types of projects as well. So let's get over to the machine and talk about the settings. Again, those are variable depending on what the fabric is that you're using and the look that you want as well. 3-thread narrow cover stitch. I have my center and right needles in the cover stitch needle position. Stitch length is 3.8. Differential feed is 1. I am in the needle up position. This machine allows you to put needle up or needle down when you take your foot off the gas, so that it's just like a sewing machine. And these are all my default settings for my tensions on my needles and chain looper. And I'm threaded up with Serger cone thread that's contrasting. It's kind of a medium blue. So let's look at this little attachment and see how we put this together. The attachment holder that will go for multiple attachments. And if you saw the tip clip with the double fold binder, this will be a review, but if not, then this is good to see and to know how to do. I have these screws that will go into the screw holes on the cover hem table, and you want to be sure to use both of them to prevent any torquing. If you just have one, if it loosens up a little bit, it can move around. So having both of them in will stabilize the holder nicely. So I'll put these in, and it can slide right and left if you loosen it up, but I think it should be good here. So I'll tighten these up, just snug them up a little bit. And this part swings out. This little bracket has the place for the binder to slide in. And again, there's a screw hole. You'll put that in. And I put this in loosely at first because I want to be able to slide this one right or left. And again, if you saw the double fold binder attachment, you'll see this again. This is something to be aware of, that this screw will move the binder forward or backward. And often when it comes from the factory, it's way up close and it would make it difficult to put the foot down without bumping into it. So oftentimes you'll have to loosen this screw up and back up the binder just a bit. And once you have it in the right place to begin with, in this position, you shouldn't have to move it again. So I think I am going to line this up with my indicator ridges for my right and center cover stitch needles, and they're right here. Now, as always with the binders, you want to cut your binding strip long enough to test your stitching position, because oftentimes it needs just a little bit of tweaking right or left as it moves along through the machine. So I've got a nice long piece that is considerably longer than the neckline to which I'll be attaching it. So I think that looks good. Now, The other nice feature about this binder on this machine is that it pivots out of the way. So it makes loading in the fabric strip easy. So I'm going to adjust my camera just a little bit so you can get the full view of how to do that. I'm using a strip that's about just a hair over 1.5 inches wide, and this is a silk knit, and it doesn't behave well by itself when it's in a binder. So I have a 1-inch strip of SSI knit stay tape on the wrong side of it, and that is like magic. It's great on double brush polyester, probably good on rayon knits that are very lightweight, thin, shifty, anything like that. But it really is like magic. It makes it behave very nicely. So I'm going to put this in to the binder. It goes right in here with the wrong side facing me, and I like to use my tweezers to kind of move it along in the binder. It makes it easy to push it through. And once it comes out of the front or the mouth of the binder, you can just move it along. And let me just move my camera so that you can see what I'm seeing. Here is my single fold. This flat side that isn't folded is going to be on the wrong side of the garment. And as I mentioned earlier, this is a 2-part tip clip. So I'm going to show you something really fun that you can do with that flat side just as well. But I'm going to move this along. I'm going to straighten the binder out to be in the position I want it when I do the actual stitching. And I'm going to get this under the presser foot. And again, you want to give yourself enough length on your binding strip to test your stitching position and just adjust it right or left. If your stitching is too far to the right on your binder strip, move the binder slightly to the right. And these are very small adjustments. If your stitching is too far left on the binder strip, then move the binder attachment to the left as well. It's kind of counterintuitive, but it's correct. So let me just move my camera one more time so we can watch this stitching. And I like to get it in so that the neckline stays kind of vertical. I don't want to push it so far in that it starts to roll into the fold of the binding strip itself, but just so that it's far enough in that the neckline edge is almost up straight. I've tested my stitching. I like the position, so let's give this a try on the neckline. Light fingers and hands on the left side, left hand. Just guide it along. Once it gets under the foot, the machine will carry it along with the binding, and just holding it lightly with my right hand. Okie doke, I'm at the end. So now I can raise my presser foot, pivot off, pull this out, and just pivot. Oh, this looks so nice. Look at this. Beautiful. Here's the single fold on the outside, and I'll put this on the table so that we can get a better look. And here is the back side. Now, you see a lot of extra fabric. So when I put this on the table, I'll show you what I like to do. Here's the neckline. It looks just great from the front side. And before I cut these off, I wanted to show you that this is how much extra of the binding length that I cut, plus what I cut off at the machine. So there's no such thing as having too much binding, because at the beginning, if you want to test your stitch position, you've got plenty of room to make adjustments, and you don't have to keep pulling it out or recutting a new piece of binding. So here's the front side. Here is the back side. Now, I think this is just such a cute idea. I'm going to cut away this excess on the edges, because we certainly don't need those anymore. So let me get rid of those. Now, I thought of this on a sample that I did a couple of weeks ago when I first got the binder attachment. And I said, you know what? If you put your neckline or your garment in with the wrong side face up instead of right side, this would be on the right side. And you could use either a matching or a contrasting or even a decorative thread in your chain looper for this. But take a pair of pinking shears And let's pink the edge of this. And how cute would that be on the public side of a garment? So I'm going to go around and trim that off, and I'll be right back to show you what it looks like. Here it is with the pinked edge, and if I cut it evenly, it would even look better. And you could use either pinking shears, or they have rotary cutters that have a pinking blade that you can purchase. But how cute would that be for the public side of a garment with the single fold binder? So that's just another way that you can use it. Thanks for joining me today. And as always, if you have questions, post them below and I'll get back to you quickly. And please subscribe if you haven't already. And if you click the little bell, you'll get a notification when I have posted a new tip clip. Thanks for joining me. Happy sewing and serging.